This video is part of a course, Starting a Video Business. If you'd like to watch the rest of the videos, you can go to videomaker.com/courses or click on the link in the description.
If there were only pros to running your own business, every producer would be doing it. The real trick is determining whether the potential upside outweighs the potential downside for you. The pros are fairly obvious and include being your own boss, potentially making more money, flexible hours, nearly unlimited creativity, and hopefully personal satisfaction. These are the main reasons any producer would want to strike out on their own.
When I'm walking through at a big level of what I enjoy, the pluses and minuses of the company, the responsibility goes in both categories because it's a joy to have it and a burden. The creative license is amazing. The fact that I get to choose my time.
For me personally, the biggest benefit of running my own business is that I can do things my way. I don't have to do things somebody else's way. On some level, I have to make sure my clients are happy and do things their way. I don't have one boss, I have a lot of different bosses, but ultimately, I can do things the way I want to do them.
You get a chance to chart your own course. Now, the reality is that often there are so many obstacles in the way. There's really not the freedom that originally you thought or that other people might think that you have when you're self-directed, self-employed.
So there's a freedom to say, I get to choose what we're going to do. I get to say, this is the way we're going to do it and everything else. Now, there's a negative side to that. There's an illusion that you have complete and total creative control in a production company, marketing company, advertising company, because you don't. You only have it to the point where the person who's paying the bill says you do, and that's the client.
I think the opportunity to earn greater financial rewards than an average person, although there's really been ups and downs there. I know lots of people who have are no longer employed no longer self-employed, but they've lost a great deal of their net worth or their equity. So there's a prospect for greater financial gains, but also probably a greater likelihood of traumatic financial losses. So at least it's the allure of greater financial rewards.
The other big benefit to me is that there's just lots of flexibility in my schedule and my life. I can make my schedule work around almost any life event that happens or a vacation. I can work remotely a lot of the times. If it's not a shoot, I can move it anywhere. If it's just editing, I can do it at 1 in the morning if I have something that I have to do during the day with my family or something else.
In a perfect world, there would be no significant drawbacks. In reality, there are two primary risk factors to consider: financial liability and stress.
I think the biggest drawback to running your own business, especially early on when it's smaller and you haven't established a good baseline, is that there's some financial instability and it can take a while to get past that.
We established what we would call stability in our company financially and with our client base over a period of time. It did not come quickly, which is one of the reasons we were in our small bedroom and then moved to the garage, and we're nervous about moving into a commercial facility.
When you start a business and you're the sole proprietor, you're putting your personal assets at risk. The potential threat of a lawsuit or creditor collection means you're gambling with everything you own. You're also entering a scenario where your monthly and yearly income is not certain. While you may project a certain amount per year, there's no guarantee you'll hit your goals.
So we were reasonably well financed initially, and we had great hope and ambitions. We thought we had a plan and we could execute on a plan, but probably after about 5 or 6 months, we were veering off of our goals, and we knew we'd run out of capital after about a year or so. I mean, there are many times I thought we really were going to be out of business, and kind of at one point I remember resigning, thinking it was hopeless. We had owed too many people too much money, and there was just not enough promise. And it was a great relief of mine to kind of give up. But the next morning I kind of woke up and said, what am I going to do today? Well, I may as well go into the office and see what I could do until maybe people prevent me from physically going into the office, like a landlord changes the locks or something. I just really had this tenacity to kind of keep on plowing forward.
It's also very important not to overlook the stress that can be involved in running your own business. Being your own boss and making your own hours may sound fantastic, but the flip side is always being on the clock, which can result in long hours, including nights and weekends.
I think today I probably work 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, but on the weekends too, so it's so hard to say, really.
Probably 60 is safe to say. Some weeks it's a little bit more, some weeks it's a little bit less.
There's an ebb and flow to it. There's busy times, there's slow times, there's times where I work 4 hours a day. And then there's times where I'm there at 7 in the morning and I'm there till midnight.
Most of our work is not 5 days a week, 8 to 5. I work a lot of evenings to catch up on things that don't get done during the day. And I work, most weekends, I work at least 3 or 4 hours. And sometimes it's more than that.
To be successful in it, you have to just put in whatever it takes. And sometimes that means 3 nonstop days of work, and the advantage is you might get a week off after that. So unlike a traditional job where you work 9 to 5 and you get to just go home at 5 and leave it all behind, you don't always get to do that. But the advantage is that there's a lot of flexibility, at least in the way that I run my business.
I'm the guy that has to show up on Saturday if it needs to get done. And a lot of times I can't expect my employees because they've got families and they didn't sign up for this. They signed up for a job and a paycheck and to bring themselves to work 40 hours a week. And I'm the one taking the risk.
Running a business also requires solid communication skills to help avoid issues with clients and employees. When everybody isn't on the same page, it's a recipe for conflict.
In any business where you're working with clients, a client service type business, you're gonna run into issues, problems. Usually it's something to do with communication, would be my guess, like 99% of the time it's a communication issue. And sometimes it's just maybe an incompatibility issue. And I always look at it from the aspect of the 80-20 rule. About 80% of your business probably comes from 20% of your clients. Generally speaking, it depends on sort of your business model. And 80% of your stress probably comes from 20% of your clients. And a lot of times they're not the same ones.
You create a lot of your own messes. And in that sense, you've got to communicate well. The best way to avoid those conflicts is to make sure, especially in a business, that you're communicating clearly.
So some of the biggest challenges, I think, are based upon expectations. So making sure that everyone's expectations are harmonious and parallel and lined up. So you have employees that you have to make sure you're not leading them on and painting them a rosy picture that is not going to materialize or is unlikely to materialize. Likewise with customers, if you oversell and overpromise and underdeliver, you've got big headaches there.
I had to learn over time that we had to have everything in a contract. In the beginning, I thought this is dumb. I just want to trust people for their word. I just want them to trust me for my word. We shouldn't have to do all that. And one of the reasons I didn't want to do it was because it felt dishonest. It felt like I was becoming corporate. I mean, honestly, I make fun of it, but it was like there's something inauthentic about it, which had to do with my own issues and perspectives of business, not that it was inauthentic. Second part was I didn't like the work. I didn't understand contracts, which meant I had to learn about contracts and I had to put them together, and it was a hassle and it wasn't my thing that I did well. So I had to do all that. So we actually, because of lots of pains of conflict with employees internally and clients, I learned to communicate better and better and better. I learned to put it in writing more and more and more. And I realized that clients actually appreciated the communication more and they loved to sign the contract.
We've had a few times where we have a client we're working with that is not fun to work with, that we're not really making a profit off them, and they're causing more trouble than we think it's worth. And I would say I would encourage you to let go of the clients that don't work for you, because it's gonna be better for them and it's gonna be better for you. If it's not a good fit, you're not doing them a good service and they're not really helping your business. And if you take the time to focus on the clients you have great relationships with, build those relationships, that's ultimately gonna be successful. I think it's difficult when you're focused on the bottom line all the time to do that, because we think, well, this client pays money, even if it's just a little bit, like I need to keep as much business as possible. But ultimately, if you let go of the relationships that don't work for you, you'll find that better relationships come in, better clients come in, and the work will improve. And I think that's an important thing to be just willing to do, to let go of the clients that aren't working for you.
There's no doubt that you'll need to be able to roll with the punches when you're running a business. Whether a client changes the budget, your bottom line is wavering, or you're just plain exhausted, it's not an easy task. But if you're ready to take the risks to get the rewards, then it's time to take the plunge.
Thank you so much for watching. To watch more of this course, Starting a Video Business, go to videomaker.com/courses or click on the link in the description.